So lovely to be with each of you. And this week I thought I'd just speak a little bit about some of the Kundalini awakening basics. And this is something that I've discovered, that people just really struggle with the basics on that spiritual path. And so with Kundalini, there's this basic teaching that energy wants to move. Like if there's a lot of energy, energy simply wants to move. Now, normally with our ego, when our ego sees or experiences lots of energy, its tendency is to resist, to fight with it, to be scared. And, like these two things, they don't go together well. We have one force fighting and one energy that's trying to flow. And this will make us miserable. And this is the primary reason most of us are miserable on the spiritual path. It's because we haven't mastered this basic truth. Energy wants to flow. And so then the question becomes, very simply, well, how? Like, how do I allow this energy to flow? The number one thing is we cannot identify with our egoic nature and simultaneously be waking up. Like that doesn't work. If we're going to wake up, let's identify with the energy of awakening, the energy of trust, the energy of openness, the energy of vast, spacious awareness, you knowing that your consciousness is space instead of thinking that your consciousness is a big resistant force, called the ego. And so we all have this choice to make on the spiritual path. Am I going to identify with the hugeness of what I am? Or am I going to identify with a psychological program of resistance? Now, it gets a little bit more complicated because most people, excuse me, most people, one, they're not conscious, and two, they don't know where their consciousness is. And that sounds like a strange thing to say. You don't know where your consciousness is. But when I first met my teacher, he would look at me and say, Craig, get in your body. And I'd say, huh? What? Like, what are you talking about? He'd say, Craig, get in your body. You're not in your body. And, I could still feel my body to some degree. But my consciousness was out here just floating around my body. And most people don't realize this. They don't realize where their consciousness is. And so most people on planet Earth, they live either in their head or like a little bit in their head, a little bit in their emotional nature, and then a lot outside of themselves. And spiritual people are notorious for this because most of us got really comfortable when we were in heaven. And then when God had us incarnate, we were like, no, I don't want to be in that body. I don't want to feel pain. And so one of the greatest avoidant techniques that spiritual people use unconsciously is we just float outside of the body. And so if we are going to, be on this path, like consciously be on this path of spiritual awakening, and if we hear this basic teaching, like energy wants to flow, okay. Well, in order to know that energy wants to flow, to be able to allow energy to flow, we have to be in our body. And Kundalini wants us in our body. Kundalini wants us to be energy masters. Kundalini wants us to inhabit all 7 chakra centers. But again, most of us, we only inhabit, a little aspect of the mind and a little aspect of the emotional nature. And in the place of our consciousness, we just allow our ego kind of to run the show, and it plays a game of resistance. And so the basic teaching, if we want to allow energy to flow, is we need to be able to breathe, feel, open, and experience. And it sounds very basic, but we have to master this. Say, for example, if there's energy stuck in your throat chakra or your hara, we need to be breathing deeply, feeling. So when we're feeling in the throat chakra, we're starting to get our consciousness in the throat. We need to be opening here. Again, this takes consciousness. So the ego is unconscious and it's just like, nope, I'm not opening, I'm resisting. I know what to do, I resist. But our consciousness says, okay, I'm going to breathe, I'm going to feel, I'm going to open. And then I actively choose to surrender, to let go. And as you choose to surrender and let go, you begin to experience a shift in consciousness, a shift out of resistance and into being the light. So this whole path that I'm speaking about right here is a path of energy mastery. People say, why is the energy stuck? How can I make it stop? The right question is, how can I open? In order to open a door, you have to be in front of the door. You have to be in the room where the door is closed to consciously inhabit the body, instead of unconsciously avoiding our experience and saying, this is too much. I'm confused. I don't understand. What's happening? I'm not feeling anything. The reason we don't feel is because we're not in our body. The reason we're confused is because we're not in our body. The reason we feel powerless is because we're not in our body. The reason we are unconsciously gripping is because we are not in our body. When we're not in our body, the ego just runs the show. Just runs the show. And it can very much make or provide a miserable experience for us. But when we consciously choose to be here and free the blockages through breathing, feeling, opening, surrendering, and experiencing, then there's this fundamental shift in perspective where our experience grows and evolves. It becomes something greater than just a big unconscious movement of resistance. And so let's do this, everyone. Let's close our eyes if we haven't already. And I'm going to invite us all to meet in the root chakra, to bring a conscious awareness in the root. So many of you are in your head. And so let's just imagining like our consciousness descending down along the spine and meeting in the root chakra. And just beginning to breathe deeply and fully into the root. Gently inquiring and being curious. What am I feeling? In the root chakra, what am I experiencing here? And for some of you, again, you may feel nothing here. And so I'm going to invite you to walk in the direction of the root. Begin to inhabit this center. And just notice, is there tension here? Or is there numbness here? And if there's numbness, can we begin to wake up here? It's almost like shaking yourself up out of a dream and feeling to the pelvic floor and the hips, pelvic bowl, the root. Beginning to relax and open and noticing this primal sense of radiance here. Of course, if there's any fear or gripping, we're going to meet this with love and a sense of surrender and trust. Inviting this center to relax and to open. And as you do so, you may begin to notice yourself as the earth. This quiet, mountain-like presence or essence of strength. You feel as if you're opening to the ground of being. So we're opening here. And as you open, you might notice the Kundalini coming alive and beginning to inhabit this center. So we continue to stay open in the root chakra. And we take a deep breath. And we invite awareness to expand into the second chakra, the hara. Again, breathing and feeling and opening. And again, I can see that some of you are still up in your head. And so just imagining like your consciousness in your mind, just taking like this elevator and going down like a shaft of a well or a mine. This may be a little bit uncomfortable, but we're courageous beings. And in this moment, I'm inviting us to be fearless, to breathe, to feel, to open the abdomen, the lower belly, the hara, feeling a quiet sense of power here in the lower belly. Again, if there's numbness, we're kind of just inviting this part of us to wake up, to come alive, to come online. We're jump-starting an engine. If there's fear here, we're meeting the fear with a sense of tenderness and love. A quiet sense of trust. And so inviting this Kundalini Shakti to begin to flow more fluidly up from the earth into the root, to the second chakra center. You may just notice the first two chakra centers beginning to be filled with light, with radiance. If there's resistance, sometimes there can be a coldness, a numbness, a deadness, a fear. In the belly, you might feel a little bit of burning, nausea, or just letting it come. We breathe in and breathe out. Softening and trusting. This quiet truth, this quiet perspective of being the ground. Quiet perspective. Being this gentle giant, the silent hugeness. As we continue to open here, notice your consciousness shifting, spreading out, expanding. You may even feel a gentle sense of nobility. strength, power, indestructible essence. So Kundalini begins to flow up the spine, unencumbered, flowing into the solar plexus chakra, and inviting this Kundalini Shakti to clear out any karmic debris, to sweep away any old habitual holding, inviting the third chakra center. The ribs come together right below the heart, inviting the third chakra center to begin to awaken, begin to radiate. And just noticing that energy wants to flow. It feels good to allow energy to flow. As it flows, our consciousness expands, and the energy begins to integrate into our human sense of self, flooding the cells of our being with light, with love, gentle, radiant bliss. And softening any gripping or any personal sense of fighting or resisting. Solar plexus chakra tends to be the center for personal egoic fighting. And what we're inviting is for there to be a shift there, for the solar plexus chakra to be the center, the true center, an individual sense of divine power here on planet Earth. A sense of I'm good, I'm strong, I'm holy, I'm divine. I can do. I shall overcome. I am strong. I am a divine being. I am a Buddha. Beginning to soften and open and to claim this power and really feeling a foundational sense of empowerment. The root, the hara, the solar plexus. The energy continues to flow up the spine to the fourth chakra center, the heart, flooding the chest with light. Breathing in, breathing out. Softening and trusting. And just feeling into the heart chakra. Notice the heart is shut down. There's any sense of old woundedness there. There's a guardedness. There's someone, something you need to forgive or let go of. Really noticing what happens when you let go and open and truly inhabit the heart chakra. You know, some of you might experience like a great explosion of love, radiance, of surrender. Sometimes there could even be tears of letting go. Really just inviting that heart chakra to blast open as the Kundalini Shakti flows up from the earth, through the root, through the hara, through the solar plexus, just pouring and exploding open in the space of the heart. Flooding the chest. Flooding the chest. heart fully opening in the front and behind, above and below, the right and the left. Noticing how, when energy flows, consciousness expands. And gently feeling around in the heart, the chest, just noticing if there's anything else, any little bits of tension or holding, the old things from the past you're still holding on to. Want this love to be able to shine anywhere, everywhere. I surrender all. I surrender all. All to thee, Lord, I surrender. I surrender all. Continuing to soften, to open. Feeling into the throat chakra, just noticing the type of congestion you have in the throat. The throat often is full of judgments or fears or little ways or big ways that we try to control, manipulate, or resist. In this moment, giving ourselves full permission to surrender the throat. Like all this unconscious gripping and resisting and controlling. And in its place, we're planting the seed of I trust. I trust in the Most High. I trust in Kundalini Shakti. I trust when I breathe, I feel, I open. My consciousness will expand. I trust. So inviting this energy to flow up from the earth, through the root, the heart, the solar plexus, the heart, through the throat chakra, expanding the throat chakra on the horizontal plane, blasting the gates of the throat chakra open, inviting this Kundalini Shakti to flow to the space of the mind, expanding the mind in all directions, clearing out the old limiting thoughts or beliefs, clearing out anything that is heavy or dense or habitual, letting it all flow, empty, truly seeing the expansive nature of the mind. The mind is not a collection of thoughts, but the mind is a space that goes on forever. Infinite space, infinite openness. As the Kundalini Shakti flows into the space of the mind, it expands. It creates whole universes, light of love, peace of radiance. Enjoying this expansion while simultaneously you're fully rooted in the body, fully rooted in this moment, fully rooted in the hugeness, this immense ground of being. So again, we'll take one more deep, full breath, inviting this Kundalini Shakti to flow all the way up through the spine, out the top of the head, flowing up into heaven, and simultaneously showering down, blessing the body, blessing the nervous system, blessing the humanity, and inviting a gentle sense of integration. Gentle sense of integration. Inviting the body to be free of blockages. Inviting the entire body to be consciously awake. Coming back to this basic teaching. Energy, intense energy wants to flow. As we let it flow, we become the flow. We become the light. We become the space. We become the peace. We become the radiance. We become the love. We become the earth. We become the sky. And so I invite you to stay fully with your experience. And just knowing any time in the future, you find energy is stuck, we're going to inhabit our body. We're going to breathe. We're going to feel. We're going to open. We're going to surrender and let go. That which is holding, that which is resisting. And we're going to experience this flow of energy, this flow of grace, this expansion of consciousness. This is the way. The way is not to resist. The way is not to fight. The way is not to identify with a mind that just wants to be the eternal victim or the eternal separate one. Let us be the unified one. The unified one. Okay. I want to stop the recording.